So, what if I told you that trying to regulate your nervous system is actually making you weaker as a leader and an entrepreneur and keeping you from the success that you're actually capable of and experiencing life in the way that you could be? I know that sounds completely backwards, especially with everyone talking about nervous system regulation right now. But stick with me for a moment because what I'm about to share with you is going to challenge everything you think you know about handling stress in business and in life. My name's Dan, for those that I don't know, and I work with high performing leaders and entrepreneurs who are tired of being told that they need to calm down to be successful and enjoy life. I've been doing this for over 8 years, and over the past few years, I've watched this nervous system regulation trend start to take over the industry and leaders and entrepreneurs trying to constantly, incessantly regulate themselves. I've seen the unintended consequences firsthand. What I discovered and what I'm going to share with you in this video is something that most people in the wellness space do not speak to and may not tell you. It has completely changed my approach to stress, intensity, and peak performance. In this video, I'm going to walk you through why regulation is actually keeping you small and what the most successful entrepreneurs do instead. And the three-step process framework I use with my clients to transform their relationship with stress and intensity. And by the end of the video, you'll be able to stop fighting against your nervous system and actually start collaborating with it to access levels of focus, creativity, and resilience that you probably didn't even know were possible. Plus, I'm going to give you a completely different framework that will transform how you handle the inevitable chaos of building something meaningful. We can't avoid that. Not to mention enjoying your life whilst in the middle of building or having built this success. Let me start by telling you about a client of mine. Let's call him Marcus. And he came to me completely exhausted. But here's the thing, he wasn't burnt out from his business. He had a secondary burnout from managing his nervous system. This guy had apps tracking his HRV, his breathing, protocols of every situation, meditation, routines, ice baths, saunas, meditation routines that took longer than his business meetings. No, nothing wrong with that. He was spending more mental energy regulating his nervous system than actually running his seven-figure company. And here's what I realized was happening with Marcus. He had fallen into three fatal misconceptions, and he's not the only one. And these misconceptions are destroying entrepreneurs right now. The first one is that the nervous system is doing it wrong. We think activation means malfunction, that stress responses are mistakes and that they need to be corrected. Misconception number two, that we ourselves are smarter than our nervous system. We believe our thinking mind should override millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. Misconception number three is that we control our nervous system, that we think we can force it into compliance through techniques and protocols. Here's the truth. Your nervous system has been keeping humans alive and thriving for millennia. That intensity, that urgency, that we need to figure this out now, energy, it's not broken. It's brilliant, it's intelligent, and it's responding to real changes. The problem isn't your nervous system. The problem is that you've been taught to fight against it and to fight against the very wisdom that's designed to help you succeed in life and in business. And by the way, this is exactly the kind of deep work we dive into in our 90-day nervous system mastery program for leaders and entrepreneurs. We help you completely rewire your relationship with intensity and stress so you can use it as fuel instead of fighting it. More on that later. So if these misconceptions are keeping us stuck, what do the highest performers actually understand? I'm going to share a metaphor that will completely change how you think about your nervous system. And once you get this, you'll never go back to trying to control your body again. And I love this metaphor from Edward Dangerfield, a dear friend and incredible teacher. Imagine your nervous system as a wise ancient elephant. This elephant has been walking the same paths for millions of years. It knows how to navigate danger, when to move fast, when to rest, when to be alert. It has deep embodied wisdom about survival and thriving. Now, imagine your thinking mind as a rider sitting on top of this elephant. No animals were harmed in the process of recording this video. The rider thinks it's in charge, thinks it knows better, and keeps trying to force the elephant to go where the rider wants to go, to where the rider thinks it needs to go. What happens when a 150-pound rider tries to force a 10,000-pound elephant to go somewhere it doesn't want to go? In your business life, this looks like your thinking mind saying, I should be calm, I should be regulated, whilst your elephant, the nervous system, is saying, there's real danger here. We need to move. This matters. So you start doing breathing exercises, trying to force the elephant to calm down when in fact it needs to be activated. The elephant isn't wrong. It's responding to real changes with real wisdom. We just want this activation to happen in a healthy way. Think about it. When you become activated in moments where activation is needed, that is such a powerful tool. And for us to receive that energy for free, if you could bottle that energy up, it would be worth billions. It's been given to us, but we want to be using that energy and making sure that it's arising in moments where it's needed. And the issue isn't so much with us activating, but more so us not stepping out of that activation frequently enough to allow for a dynamic balance between activation and relaxation to be able to meet that activation. Relaxation, activation. So the rider isn't trying to calm the elephant down. They're working together towards the mission. This is what we're after, the collaboration. Here's what high performers that I've been working with are now understanding. Instead of trying to control the elephant, you create conditions for the elephant to remember its way. You work with the ancient wisdom, not against it. This is the difference between entrepreneurs that have achieved external success and have the capacity to be able to enjoy that external success and continuing to build upon that, versus entrepreneurs that are finding themselves in this constant edge in the face of business, in the face of life, and are unable to enjoy the success within their business, let alone all of the things that are so very meaningful to them outside of their business. The elephant isn't the problem. It's fighting the elephant that is the problem. And so there's a few things we can do to allow for an integration here, for that collaboration. Now, you might be thinking, Dan, this all sounds great. I get it. But how do I actually do this when I'm in the middle of a big conversation or a crisis, or my heart is racing, whatever it might be, or there's so much to do? Here's the practice that changes everything. And I guarantee it's the opposite of 99.9% of all of the nervous system program teachings out there. Instead of trying to change your state, you learn to expand your capacity to be with whatever state arises. I call this full spectrum living. When you feel that familiar activation feeling, the heart starts racing, tightness, urgency, moving forward. Instead of immediately trying to fix it and stop it or do something with it, you pause and you ask 3 questions. What is this activation trying to protect or achieve? 2, how can I honor this energy while staying connected and grounded to my wisdom? And 3, what would it look like to bring both intensity and presence to this situation? So just last week, I found myself in a situation. It was just after having had a pretty challenging and intense conversation. Now, the conversation was over. I noticed my entire nervous system being incredibly riled up, incredibly riled up. And I noticed old parts of me that were arising, wanting to do something about this. Let's move this. Let's, do something so I don't have to feel this, because this is quite uncomfortable. This feeling that I've just gone through, the thought of maybe I pick up the phone and I start going through, maybe I'll start cooking dinner, or maybe I'll start doing this. And I allowed myself the time to sit there and watch that energy move through the body. And as I was doing that, there were all of these thoughts that were arising around, yeah, but when they said this, and yeah, but this is what I was meaning by that, and it was understood in this way, and so on and so on. I allowed those to be there. Rather than the process needing to be any different, I just made sure that I saw the thoughts for what they were. I allowed myself to observe the thoughts and for myself to observe the feelings that were related and associated to the thoughts. It was the somatic, the bodily representation of the thoughts playing out. It was one hell of a show. I sat there for 45 minutes allowing this to play out. Now, you might not always have the opportunity to allow for 45 minutes of you sitting there and watching the show. Pausing and at the very least communicating, hey, I'm going to come back to this when I'm more resourced and in a state where I am going to be able to communicate what I want to more clearly. And I think that that's going to be better for the situation, therefore for yourself and also for me. What allowed me to navigate that situation in that way was to pause, to take a breath, and to be aware of the fact that it's going to take a little bit of time for this to settle down. And I don't want to be saying anything from this state. Your nervous system isn't malfunctioning during challenging situations. Its responses just might be outdated. So we can bring awareness to that and allow space for a new way of being bit by bit to start to come through. We're living in the most uncertain business environment and socially and globally that we have ever seen. This is not the time to be training yourself to be smaller or more contained and regulated. This is the time to be expanding our capacity to handle healthy expansion and handle healthy containment and a dynamic balance between the two to bring us into our power and to be living from there. Your ability to activate isn't the problem to be solved. It's a superpower that we can actually harness. It's so wise, it's so intelligent. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. Stop trying to regulate your nervous system into submission. It's not a competition. Start collaborating with it. Use that activation as information, as energy, as fuel for the meaningful work you're here to do. But also allow for relaxation and a layer of relaxation in the face of that. By the way, if you need any help with anything we've talked about today, just head to the Work With Me description below. Watch the quick explainer video about who I can and can't help, and feel free to apply to work with me. I'd be more than happy to consult with you one-to-one to help you build, grow, and expand your capacity. And I know that jumping on a call with a salesperson is the done thing, but know that I'll be personally jumping on the call with you. So if you need that, the link is there. Anyway, here's the key thing to remember. To achieve true nervous system mastery, you need to stop seeing activation as the enemy and start seeing it as intelligence. You'll begin accessing levels of clarity and power you didn't even know were possible. I really hope this video helps you get there. And if this landed for you, you're going to love what I share next about why your personal development might actually be stressing your nervous system even more. The connection I reveal will completely change how you think about growth. See you on the other side.